Excited to welcome on George Washington head coach, Jamion Christian. What's going on today, coach?
What's going on, man? Great to see you. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Well, let's just get right into this, man. You are an incredible coach. You just got listed at ESPN's top 40 under 40 coaches. You're obviously one of the top young coaches. What's it feel like just to be getting to the point you're at right now?
Well, I love it. I love what I get a chance to do every day. And, I touched the basketball when I was like 5 years old, and I'm fortunate to never have to put it down. And, that basketball represents so many different things for me. It represents hopes and dreams and wishes and things that you want to be able to do. Every time I step on the court, I think of the first time I stepped out there as a kid, having an opportunity to count it down, 3, 2, 1, and take the last second shot. And I think it's really important that that us coaches understand that we're getting a chance to help these young people find their dreams and live their dreams out. And I love it every day. Just have an opportunity to be able to do that with a group of guys, and every year they graduate, so you get a couple more. And it's just an amazing feeling to be able to be in this position. Everybody would say they're blessed. I would say I'm completely blessed to be here, and just trying to earn that right every day and live that dream out for somebody else.
That's awesome. And let's kind of talk about your life growing up to where you're at now. You're from Virginia. You play basketball. You went to college level. Become an assistant coach. You go all over the country. Obviously, now you're the head coach at George Washington. Just kind of take us through what it's taken, what it's got now for you to become the head coach at George Washington.
Man, I could never have pictured myself being here. I'll tell you that. I was I played single A basketball in Virginia. We won a state championship when I was a senior. We had 26-0, Virginia State Player of the Year. But through that experience as a player, I had a chance to play with some great guys. We had several guys play college football. We actually probably had a more talented team when I was a junior. But our senior year, we kind of just put it all together. And I just learned so much from those teams, And, I think when you look at the NBA now, everybody kind of like signs and trades to a team. But, I think it's always more fun when you build towards it. I think, and we had a chance to do that in high school. And we had the same group of guys from the time we were 6 or 7 years old. And we kind of funneled all the way through to high school and finishing with the championship. And, I've tried to model our teams that way. One of the things that we had on that team, we had great love, great connectivity. Our guys loved each other. We had been together so long. We'd been through so many different adversities together. And, we just really rallied together. And I thought it was really tough to beat us that year because of that. And so you try to take that experience with you into coaching. And from there, I go play for a guy named Jim Phelan. And, it was crazy. I was Virginia State Player of the Year. I had a couple options, Division I, that didn't materialize quite at the time you need them to. And I signed really late in the spring, and I remember riding up to Mount St. Mary's, or getting the first phone call really from Mount St. Mary's, and talking to Milan Brown, who's now assistant at Pitt, and just loving the connection I had with him, and we get to do that every day. We make this first phone call, and we get a chance to change someone's life, and I think that's amazing to be able to be on that side of the phone. And so Coach Brown calls me, and I go up and visit like a week or two later. We kind of get to know him, and we get up there, and Coach Phelan's there. And at the time, Coach Phelan, I believe he had just under 800 wins when we got there. And he was just an amazing person. Had done it for 47 years when I got there, and 49 years when he finished. And I got a chance to play for a Hall of Famer. And, like we talk about, like God putting you in the right place at the right time. And I'd missed some opportunities that I really wanted, and he put me right in the right place there with Mount St. Mary's and Coach Phelan. That was absolutely the perfect place for me. So I played there, and then I get a job at Emory and Henry College in Southwestern Virginia. It's a great place. Coach Bob Johnson was my head coach, and Coach Jay, as people knew him as, and he was an amazing teacher, an amazing leader. And my first job, I walked into the best opportunity for myself. I had another opportunity to go be an operations person somewhere, making more money, and I just kind of trusted my gut, and I walked into a great situation with Coach Johnson, where I coached Division III, and a lot of guys are afraid to do that now, Zach, and, I wasn't smart enough to know that I should have tried to go level first. I just went where I was going to have the opportunity to coach. And while there, he just taught me so much about basketball and about leadership. And I got off to a great head start. I got him at the end of his career, and what turned out to be really near the end of his life. And I got the best of him. I always say that to people, because he had done every style of offense, every style of defense, and he wasn't afraid to talk me through it. And when I made a mistake, he was a great person who guided me to the right answer. He held me accountable to the things that I wanted to do well. And, I try to emulate his leadership every day within our program. From there, Bucknell, working for Pat Flannery. From there, Tony Shaver at William & Mary, and then Shaka Smart at VCU. And I was with Shaka for a year, 9 months or so. And And then I got the call to come back to my alma mater, Mount St. Mary's. We put together, 6 great years there, and made the NCAA tournament twice, and then got a year at Siena, and now I'm the head coach at GW. And so, I think I learned so much from all those stops. We could talk about individually about each one of those stops if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned a ton, with Flannery at Bucknell. He was coming off being a mid-major coach of the year. They had just beaten Kansas and Arkansas back-to-back years in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
He was a guy who he's just his business mind and how he operates the office. And, I was the ops guy beside him. So every meeting he went to, I had to go with him and take notes. And, most people are afraid of the ops spot, Zach, and I think, man, what a learning experience it was for me. I felt comfortable when I became a head coach going to these meetings and having to make decisions because I was with him doing it every single day. And again, I got lucky. I walked into a situation where he was a tremendous leader and a mentor for me. And, he was able to really guide me. And I thought that was huge. And so I go there 2 years with him and then he retires. And then Tony Shaver, I get the call from Tony Shaver. And, I was fortunate. I mean, the William & Mary called for another assistant on staff. Now that assistant turned it down and he goes, well, I think you should talk to our ops guy. And I got lucky. I just got lucky. We walked into a great spot. They had just lost in the championship game in the CAA. And then I come in there and we're just kind of learning and figuring this thing out together. I was with some great assistants and Jonathan Holmes and Ben Wilkins. And we were young enough to believe we could win the CAA. And the second year we finished second in the CAA and put together the best year in school history and recruited some good guys. And then Shaver, after that, really started to dominate the CAA. And it was great to watch them find themselves. And then you go from there to Shaka Smart. It's like, man, Shaka's the best. He's a guy that you love being around, that the guys love being around. He leads with his heart and he cares for you. And, again, I'm telling you, Matt, the story of me is just being fortunate and being in the right place at the right time. And, Shaka would spend time with me and talk X's and O's and talk defense and talk player. And he was just amazing, man. He was an amazing person. He still is to me. We talk almost every day. Just really blessed to have mentors like that in my life that have been able to guide me. Because once you become a head coach, what people don't realize is you're on your own to figure it out. And that's why they give you the job title. But I was off to a great start because I just had great people around me and great people that taught me. And, again, I'm really fortunate to have worked with some of the very best.
Absolutely. There's a few points you brought up that I think are pretty key. One is, talking to coaches, every coach has their own story to get to where they're at. And some of them obviously take the grad assistant job. Some of them are former players that get an opportunity that way. You take the Division III route, which, as you said, is something that people might not find as appealing, not as attracting. What, for you going back there, what kind of led you to the decision to want to take a non-Division I job?
Yeah, man, just being naive. It was really simple. I got done playing, and I wanted to coach. Mm-hmm. And that was really important to me. I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be on the floor with the guys. I wanted to learn. My senior year of college, I basically had drawn up the Princeton offense all over my thing. And so we get to the end of the year, my senior year, and we have you have a thesis paper, your senior thesis. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have any paper left because I'd used all my paper on my playbook. Mm-hmm. So I had to put my thesis on the back of my playbook. Right. And so, that's how dedicated I was to this. And I've been working on that notebook for about 2 years, watching, different Princeton programs, watching Air Force and just watching these programs. And I really wanted to be fluent in that. And we had Monmouth in our league at the time. So getting a chance to listen and watch that, firsthand, so that's the kind of person I was. I think it's pretty simple. I didn't want to be an operations person right out of college. I wanted to be a coach. And so I went to the place that was going to offer me a coaching position. Again, it might have been naive of me. Maybe I didn't know how hard the journey could be for some or maybe for myself, but it was that simple. I wasn't worried about level. I think a lot of times people are worried about level. I understand that more now, being in the position that I'm in. But, when you're coaching Division III, you get a chance to go out and recruit every day. So I got a chance to make a ton of mistakes in recruiting when I was young and able to learn from it. I was able to travel more than most people. And, again, you can go every single day. So I got the job. He offered me the job. I take it. The next day I was on the road recruiting and looking at other guys and just to be able to do that. I think Division I level, we have 120 days we can recruit. As a Division III guy, I was probably going out 200 to 250 days a year. So I just had a great understanding of how to evaluate players. I had to learn how to build a system to evaluate guys because you're seeing so many more guys and so many more guys can play at your level. So you got to figure out a system to be able to get the guys that you want and the guys that you need to help you win. But I think I'd like to say it was just that simple. I wanted to coach. And so I went to the level that allowed me to coach, and I just tried to put my passions there.
You brought up a good point. I mean, in terms of recruiting process, that's something that we know, especially this year, is chaotic. Times are changing because of COVID effects, but typically we have the set days, you have the set periods. For you personally, would you prefer a time where you could go recruit pretty much year round, or what's kind of your thoughts on the recruiting process that NCAA has set up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to recruit. I mean, quite honestly, with the way it's been set up in the past, you just don't get that many days. And, when you don't have as many days, it's challenging because, again, you might see a guy on a good day, you might see him on a bad day. Again, coaching Division III, I got to see these guys play so many times, and there wasn't any restriction on it. So I just felt like I had a better evaluation, and I was really – and one of the things I tried to do is take great notes on every one of these guys. Over that time. And so I think it's just challenging because I think you get less days. I think your demands are different. I mean, you are getting paid more to coach, and a lot of us are coaching on TV 2 days out of the week. Mm-hmm. So I think it does something great for our product. It does something great for our players being on campus. And, kind of how we recruit here, we're very on campus. So we're asking guys to take the unofficial visits multiple times and spend time with us. I don't go off campus that much during the year recruiting-wise because I want to spend time with our players. Like, every one of these guys commits to our team, and their families commit to playing for me because they want me to be there for them. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's really important that we try to do that. And we do that as an entire staff, that we make our players a priority. And I think that's shown well because our guys have developed well, but I think the guys feel good. They feel cared for. So I think that's important. We talk about COVID and how it's changed a little bit with that. I mean, I just think it's such a necessity because I think right now, guys would have an unfair advantage if you allow people to go out and recruiting. And I mean, because everyone's feeling differently. Like, can I go out? Can I do this? Every state has a different rule. So it's very interesting to watch. I feel bad for the players, for the student athletes. They're not going to get the unofficial visits that they get accustomed to they're not going to get the official visits that they're accustomed to. So I feel bad for them because I think they won't have. They may end up with the same opportunity, but they won't have the same process. Mm-hmm. And I do think that process is really important to appreciate what you have, but to also understand what else is out there. And, there'll be a lot of guys that won't have an opportunity to do that. And I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting where we'll be at in 2 years or 3 years to see where guys go now and see how they pan out at those places with people being able to see them really limited. Mm-hmm. Been really shocked with the number of offers that go out there when guys haven't been able to play, mm-hmm. And I think that's just very dangerous for our student athletes. The adults got to get this right, and the adults got to recruit the right guys. And we recruit the wrong ones, there's going to be a lot of guys in the transfer portal for the wrong reasons. And, I think down the road that could be another thing that happens because of COVID.
And every coach has their own opinion on everything happening. I mean, as you said, some states are playing games for a weekend, there. It's all up in the air. As a programmer, we're trying to wrap up your 2020 class the past few months. Now you work on 2021. What's kind of your take on this? Are you valuing games? Watch them online. How do you kind of go through this recruiting process? What's your thoughts and approach on recruiting guys right now?
I watch a lot of film and recruits anyway. So, that's been I would say that's been a weapon of mine for years. Mm-hmm. So I've been a guy who watches I watch film every day, basically from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So I'm watching a lot of film. It's different now because the camera angles of this are different. Again, AAU is different. AAU is different when there's coaches in the stand versus when they're not coaches in the stand, even if you're filming. I do like the high school. I think high school basketball is very important to the process when we're trying to evaluate guys. I want to see a guy in a high school game that's a blowout. Love to see him in a high school game that's a close game, that's a rivalry game, and like to see him in a random game, and also like to see him at practice, see how his teammates react to him, how he responds. And then I also like AAU because I think AAU gives you a chance to see their growth from their junior year to their senior year, things they've been able to work on. I think it's an important time to be able to watch those things. A lot of times we're making these evaluations before they even play a game in their senior year. So I think that time is really important, and I've always valued all of it. And not weighing one over the other, I think maybe some people do. I think you can get great points for all of it, right? If you see a high school game, You get a chance to see how he responds to coaching, how he responds to someone who's been coaching him probably for a longer period of time, who's been with him for a longer period of time, teammates who've been with him a longer period of time. So you get a chance to see all those interactions, and I think those interactions are important. You get a chance to see how he responds against maybe different talent level, maybe different times of day, how much they love it. You get a chance to see different things, but I think all those things are important to see. And again, I don't outweigh one over the other. I think they're all important. And, I'm glad because, we're typically a team that gets out and recruits really early. I think we had, 40 some unofficial visits last June. So we've always done a great job of that. So I feel good about where we are in 21 because I feel like we've put a lot of work in before. But then when you get to 22, we're going to be in the same boat as everybody else. So we've got to figure out a way to be better.
And we see now a ton of guys are constantly committing right now in the 2021 class. I think some people were kind of surprised. I think some people thought because there's no AAU games, there's nothing playing right now, that guys might hold out so they can get back on the court, do some visits. It's not the case this year right now. I mean, are you kind of shocked about seeing the amount of guys committing this early on?
Not really. You think, a lot of these guys had an opportunity last year to visit and to see some of these places, and you kind of know where you stand at. So I'm not. I think it's smart. I think it's always smart if you have a place that you love to take it.
Yeah.
I think that just makes sense. And I think too many times players have a place that they love and they end up settling for a place that they don't love because they lose out on what they did love. And I just don't think that makes sense. I'm always encouraging people, take what you love. And sometimes it's not GW, and that's okay. But take what you love and enjoy that and be happy about it. You go through this recruiting process. By the end of it, you talk to these guys and they're like, oh, Coach, I'm so tired. I'm so stressed. This process shouldn't be any of that stuff for you. If you have something that you love, go for it. Trust your gut, trust your heart, and go and then go and battle and go and compete. And don't be afraid to do that. That's always been my advice, whether guys coming here or going somewhere else. And I think that's really important, is just to be able to look at what's most important to you and be able to go after it. I do think this has been good for that. I think people are looking at more substance instead of all the flash. Like what happens is it's like, hey, I'm going to go visit this school in the ACC. Then the next school in the ACC tells you to visit, and so on and so forth. It's kind of juvenile if you think about it, and not juvenile by the kids. It's juvenile by the adults, by the coaches who don't get out and do their own work. If you like a kid, like them. If you don't like them, let them go somewhere else. It's really that simple. I think a lot of times coaches are creating confusion on the market because they're not being genuine to what they want and who they want to coach. And I think when that happens, I just think it's really unfair. And I think it's unfair to the kids who are trying to figure out who really wants them, who cares about them, where they can play at. And so we've always just tried to not play any games, just be genuinely in, or genuinely out, and just trying to understand that. And I wish more people took that approach because I think it's unfair to the kids. Because, you'll be surprised how many times, and you'll probably see this for the next couple of years, how many times kids get down to the last 3 or 4 that they're looking at, and really 2 of those schools aren't really evaluating them, don't really care about them, don't want them. You'll be surprised at how many times that happens. And it happens because they're trying to make sure they don't end up in their league, and they're not being genuine about what's best for the kid. And I just always try to lean to see what's best for the kid.
Now, in terms of you and your play style, what you want to do, how do you identify a player? What kind of player traits are you looking for, both what they do on the court and kind of off the court as well? How do you kind of identify a guy that fits your system and fits GW?
I love guys that love to be on a team and love to be connected with others. We're striving to do something that's never been done. And so that's an ambitious goal. That's an ambitious task. And so we got to have ambitious people. We got to have people with broad shoulders who aren't afraid to go out and challenge themselves and challenge the status quo. And, we found a great group of guys that have been able to do that. And I'm excited about that opportunity to be able to do that. So we're looking for that. I'm looking for guys with the right kind of mindset. It starts with love and appreciation, love and connectivity. Those things are huge. You hear us say that all the time. I love guys that are honest, that just have an honest way about them, that are genuine about who they are. Those are things that really connect with me. And it doesn't mean a guy has to be perfect off the floor, but if he can be honest and open to his mistakes, man, we're going to get along great. And I'm going to be a guy that's going to love coaching you, and you're going to love playing for me. So I'm really always looking for those things off the floor, and those things are really important. Honestly, more guys fall off our recruiting board because of the stuff off the floor than on it. There's a lot of guys that can play this game in this country. There's more basketball players right now in this country than there's ever been. Mm-hmm. So, I'm really looking for reasons to love a guy and to love him up and to believe in him and believe in his story, and so it starts there off the floor, really. I think your GPA, and I think your GPA says something about you. I think it says, when I look at that transcript, I can tell, are you passionate about being a student? Are you improving? I think that's a really important process. So I do want to evaluate that. I don't think it tells a whole story, but I think it tells you something like if a guy struggles in a class one year, I want to see him improve on it the second year. That tells me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it tells me that he didn't like it the first time he took it, but he was smart enough to lock in and get it done the second time. And whether or not he gets an A or a B or a C, but he improves, it's all about that improvement. And so I think when you're finding people that have that kind of mindset that are trying to improve, you got a great chance to be a great person. And then if you can be a great person, then you got the opportunity to be a great player. So it all starts there for us. We're really position dependent. So, we want our point guard ones and twos to be, 6'2" or bigger and be able to shoot a certain percentage off the bounce and be able to shoot off the three a certain way and be able to make these certain passes. So we're really intentional about that at the ones and twos. We want our 5 men to be guys that can move the ball and find others. I think when you watch the best teams right now, they can play to their 5-man. Their 5-man can score one-on-one on the block and create for others. I love being able to do that and having guys like that. And then our 3s and 4s, we want guys that can take 243s a year and that can make 40% of them. That's 6'7", 6'8". We got a bunch of guys like that right now, so I love our team. And that's what we're looking for, and we really try to lock in on that. And we try to hold ourselves accountable to recruiting those kind of guys. Guys with big hearts, guys that have broad shoulders, that want to take on the world. That have those kind of size measurements and those abilities.
I mean, I was recently talking to a guy that, obviously lives close to there. And he talks about GW as this place that there's no reason that you guys can obviously create a great team out there. The amount of talent in the DMV, hometown kind of players is insane. You got Georgetown, Maryland. There's enough talent to form that third team. And when you look at possibly building your team and getting a lot of hometown pride, how important would that be to you?
Man, it's everything. Man, this is a great area. You talk about some of the best basketball in the world is right here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best players have grown up right here. And you always are testing yourself, even in AAU or in high school against the teams from the DMV. You look at the top 25, routinely the DMV has 4 to 5 schools in the top 25. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. 5%, I think, of college basketball comes from the DMV. You go down to Carolina, it becomes 7%. You go to Pennsylvania, it goes like 12% or something like that. So, we just a lot of players within our region, really. We just want to do a great job there. Something I'm really passionate about, GW is one of the best schools in the world. And literally our motto here is at GW, we change the world one person at a time. And so that's an ambitious task by our university, but that's our pledge. And so I'm really passionate about bringing in kids from the DMV and giving them that opportunity to come back into their communities and to change their communities. I think that's really important. I think it's important for kids from local high schools here to see people from their demographic, people from their location, and to feel confident that, man, I can go and do that. And I think that's really, really important. That's something I'm really passionate about. And that's why I love recruiting right here in the DMV. I think we're giving our environment, we're giving the people around us a chance to see the very best, and we're going to educate them at one of the best schools in the world. So I'm really passionate about that, and I'm excited about watching what our alums do each and every year, because I believe they can change the world, and I believe they can change their environment. And when you're at GW and you're a GW graduate, you have the ability to do that. And it's been fun being a part of that process as we're getting the energy. I think we have 9 or 10 DMV guys right now. We're still recruiting more and more and more, and it's a great area. And it's one of the best areas in the world. And we're excited to have a chance to showcase it, not just on the floor, but off it, with what we're going to be able to do in our community over the next 4 or 5 years.
This obviously won't be to put down any of the big programs out there, but like I said, you got schools like Maryland, you guys go school like Georgetown, those big schools around the area. How do you personally learn to compete with them and try raising your program up to be at the same level of them, if not try surpassing them? Yeah,
we're going to run our own race, and I think that's one of the things that I love doing. And I think what we're selling is different than any school in the country. I think no one's spending time talking about their personal values, their personal identity, and the ways that we can grow these guys individually. I'm about player empowerment, and you can't empower – you can't truly have empowerment unless you know who you are. So we're spending a ton of time trying to help our guys learn who they are. It's difficult. They're changing a lot between 17 and 22. So them being able to identify their values is important each and every year. And to see as the world changes and they change within witnesses within the world, that's what we're really passionate about. So I think what we have an opportunity to showcase in the environment we have an opportunity to be a part of is just different than anything in college basketball. And I think over the years, if we do a great job of obviously having a level of success, I think the world will see that. I think our environment will see that. And then we'll measure the games on the floor when the ball goes up. Again, if you have a team that's in love, that loves each other, that's connected, that believes in one another, and that's ambitious, I think when that ball goes up, it's going to be really tough to beat us. And I do believe we'll be where we need to be at when that time is right. And so, I always believe in running your own race, having blinders on. And, I would be lying if I said I pay attention to what those other schools do, because I really don't pay attention to what they do. They've got great coaches there, and they've got great programs and great history, but so does GW. We've got great history here, and great history of basketball achievement and great history of academic success. We're trying to be the best combination in the country of those things, and we're well on our way to doing that.
You talk about you as a coach now. That's a huge thing. There's so many different coaching styles out there, but a modern day thing, especially we see popular in the NBA, is kind of the player coach, the guy that wants to empower the players, the guy that not necessarily has the players run the team, but you take advice from them. You kind of are there as almost as a friend to a degree at times. That's something a lot of guys on your team right now talked about, guys that have gone and visited with you before. Just take us through why that's your coaching style and why you like kind of having that kind of coaching style.
Well, I think you either coach how you were coached or how you wanted to be coached. And I wanted to be coached in a great environment where I had a say-so in what was going on and where my coaching staff believed in me. And that's what we're just trying to establish for our players. And, we ask them a lot of questions. You probably, when you talk to recruits, they say, man, they ask me a lot of questions because I want to know them. And I want to know if they're the type of person that can come in here and make an impact. And so once you get through that process and you're here, well, I want to know what you think. I want to know what you believe. If you want to cut this way or that way, we'll talk about it. And I want them to feel free to ask me questions. And I'm going to ask them questions about stuff on the floor and stuff off the floor. I just want them to feel a part of it. And I feel like when your leadership wants you a part of it and gives you a say-so, I just think we're all on the same page. Again, you've heard me probably say connected so many times, but that's all about us being connected. We're one unit trying to push forward every single day. And it doesn't mean we're going to always be successful, but we can still move forward. We can still improve. And if we have great awareness about the moment and great awareness about what's going on around us, and to have awareness, we have to be able to look down the road and see what our possible pitfalls are and where our possible successes are. So if we're able to do that, and I just think our guys, they enjoy it more, they love it more, and I think it's different. I want them to learn the ability to make decisions, the ability to process information, and then go for it. We're going to make a decision. Maybe we all love it, and then it happens and it's bad. And then how do you respond? Because that's going to happen to all of us in life.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have all this information, you're going to make the decision, and it's going to go the wrong way. Well, we all agreed to this. Hey, throw your hands up and let's learn from it. And now let's make the next best decision, right? And I think many times in life, it's maybe you make one bad decision, but it's that second bad decision that happens that really puts you into the hole, right? So let's just try to be smart enough to talk to one another and try to figure it out. And so I love doing that. I love being able to ask these guys questions. And now here's a trick. Love is accountability. Accountability is love. That's our thing. So, when I say that, I'm going to hold you accountable to what we agree on. And you get to hold me accountable on what we agree on, and that's fair. And that's how I feel like we should be. And I enjoy being that way. I think over the next few years, a lot more coaches will kind of become that way. And I'm comfortable in my skin. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I'm willing to learn things that I don't know. So I'm not insecure about working with our guys on tough topics and really trying to empower them. But you can't empower them unless you give them a voice, and they've got to have a voice. And a part of our job as educators and coaches is to help them use their voice and to know what their voice is exactly saying and to really explain it to them. And so we just try to do a great job as a staff of helping them find out who they are, learn their identity, and how that kind of reflects into our environment.
And earlier in the discussion, we kind of talked about how much pride it was being able to build up your high school team. What it was kind of like just building it to where you guys obviously won the championship. And that's something in high school today that with a lot of top guys, we see the movement, we see constant transfers, we see the prep school route. Overall, what's your thought on that round, just the overall prep school and the new kind of era of high school basketball?
Yeah, I think everyone's route is different. Mm-hmm. So I don't hold any judgment to anyone's route. I think every route you take is going to offer you a learning opportunity. And I'm going to ask you, well, what'd you learn from this? What'd you learn from that? And I want to hear your answer. And, I think that's the most important thing. And, everyone's trying to figure it out, so you're just trying to do the best job that you can. And that's what a single mother in Detroit's trying to do. That's what my parents tried to do. That's what a single father, in Atlanta's trying to do. Everyone's trying to make the best decision with what they have, and they're trying to make the best decision for their son. And their son represents the most precious thing that they have, and they want to get it right. So if they get it wrong, can you be mad at them for getting it wrong? They tried the best they had with the information that they had in front of them to make the life of someone else better. So I just try to hold no judgment with that. I think that's the most important part and everyone's just trying to put their kid in the best position to be successful, the most successful they can be. And I think that's fair. I think each person should evaluate what's really best. And anytime they ask me, hey, coach, what do you think about this? They probably don't like it because I make them go through a whole process of tell me what you like about this place and what you don't like here. And I make them talk to me about the things that they know and they don't know. And I say, well, that wasn't true and this isn't true and this is reality. And, because my whole thing is I just want you to make an educated decision. It's not my decision to make for someone else. But if you ask me my opinion or my thought, I'm going to try to help educate you enough so you can make the best decision you can. That's all I've really tried to do. And so I just hold no judgment towards it. Everybody's route's a little bit different. But I want to be the person that can be there to help them and support them the best way I can and just help them understand that it's a big decision. Every time you move a kid from a school, it's a big decision because you're taking a factor out of it that you don't know what's going to happen. But again, you got to take the best decision. You got to make the most of it with the information you have in front of you.
When you're recruiting a guy, a kid that plays at the prep level, goes to a big national schedule and they're playing some of the top guys all year long, does that make a kid more appealing to you, or do you like that, seeing that in a kid?
I think some people that really matters. For me, it really doesn't. I just want to see you play at your very best and to try to empower others to be better. That's important to me. You can do that from any place. I think that personality trait is important because that personality trait isn't looking outward for influence, isn't looking outward for acceptance. It's looking inward. And I think true greatness always comes from inward. We can all be motivated for a short amount of time from something outward. But true motivation comes by looking at that person in the mirror every day and asking yourself, did I give everything I had? And I've never needed someone across from me that might be better than me or was a threat to my ability for me to look inward and say, I'm a great player or I'm this. So I'm looking for people like that. I think it means something to kids, and that's great. You play a national schedule, you do that. There's a lot of great basketball being played. I feel that. But, I really don't look at that as a oh, man, the kid plays a national schedule. Like at the end of the day, is he going to come in our environment? Is he going to improve us every single day? Is he going to love improving us every day? Is he going to love this process of becoming the best person, the best player that he can become? And if someone's really bought into that, we're going to have a lot of fun. And we're going to really coach you and teach you well. And, I'm looking for guys that are really more passionate about that stuff. And I get it. I get guys like their brand and they like to build stuff up. And, I'm not too old to be too far away from that. Still one of the youngest coaches in the game, so I understand that. But I just don't let that stuff kind of deter me one way or the other. I just try to look at the player. Can the player improve our organization? Can our organization help this player's life forever? Does the player need our organization to be able to do that? And that's really how we evaluate it. So it doesn't waver me one way or the other. To me, it's just a personal take where I'm trying to see how's your internal fire, how's that internal flame, and to do things that are really tough.
Absolutely. And so there's been a lot of movement besides COVID, though, in college basketball this year. A couple of things are the G League route's a new thing that's being created now. Some of the top guys are going to take that route now. We know eventually the paying route will come in for the name and likeness, as well as the transfer rule is going to come in soon. Out of those three things, which one do you think will have kind of the largest impact on the game of college basketball?
Oh, man. I think all of them are going to have a huge impact because it's just going to give players different options and things that they're interested in. I think that's important. And I think that's fair. I've never agreed with players having to come to college because they couldn't play professional. I've never agreed with that. We have college professors on our campus. Our college professors are some of the best in the world at what they do. All of us college coaches pride ourselves in being some of the, we're one of the few college coaches in the world where those professors on every one of our campuses are the very best. They are the experts on every campus on whatever topic they're teaching. They spend hours and hours learning and training to be able to teach young people. They're passionate about teaching and passionate about them learning their material. So I was never a favor of kids coming in and not really going to college. I just think if you come to college, you should come to college to learn. And it doesn't mean that they couldn't learn something else, right? And so as long as they're learning things, I think that's the most important part. But if you go into one professor's class and you're not going to be there the next year, or you don't care about the information, well, you disrespected one elite person in our society that's giving of something. So I've never been a fan of going to college, not for the purpose of graduating from college, but I do understand that if you go to college, you are learning because you're in a learning environment. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to help college basketball because it's going to allow those who don't, who necessarily don't feel like they need a college degree and don't want to work towards it to have a platform, an avenue where they can go play professional. I do think that's going to be good. I think, and I don't think everyone will do it, but everyone will look at it and think about doing it every year. So when you look at that, when you look at the transfer route and kids being able to go and not have to sit out, that should be something that we'll have to evaluate. That the biggest thing is I just ask college coaches is to have morality and to not stab each other in the back, to have a kid come and play for you, and just have a level of morality. Be the example that you would want your child or your son or your daughter to see, and how you would want them to be treated. Do that to them. I think that's really important. And so, I would plead for college coaches not to do that to one another, to be the example that they need to set. Don't know if it'll happen, but, I'd love for that to happen. I think that's what we should do. I think that's what we should stand for. We should stand for the right stuff. So I think when you're looking at those factors, I think those are huge factors. So it'll be interesting. I think what I think happens with most markets at first, it's going to be a ton of movement. I think once it settles in, it'll slow down a little bit and people will be able to kind of understand what they need. But I think the being able to go pro, I think is important. I'm a big believer in that. And then I think the transfer thing, I do think it's better if guys would have the opportunity to sit out. I do think that's better. But for the degree, right, because, again, I'm passionate about putting more people into the world that are truly educated, not just having education, right? And so, if you come in and I have to take this fifth year, you have the opportunity to get a graduate degree, to get a graduate certificate. You have an opportunity to gain more knowledge. And some of these places you won't even be able to graduate. You'll still have to come back another year to graduate. And so now you're gonna have to. That's another thing they're gonna have to do. And so that's why I'm a proponent of it. It's just for the education of it, just for them to be able to finish their degree or to gain more education. But I think we've obviously gone in a direction where, we're going to let each school kind of figure that out, and we'll kind of pivot and adjust with that.
You mentioned the morality part. What is the right way to do it? How would you say the guidelines in your books would be to keep this thing level-headed, to keep it something that doesn't get out of control? Like, what's kind of your guideline parameters you'd want for the transfer rule?
It's such a complicated issue, because like if you put a GPA requirement on it to be able to play right away, well, that doesn't take in the fact that someone's maybe improved a ton over their time in college, and maybe they started out at a different baseline. So I think you can't do that. I think what's difficult is men's basketball is graduating at the highest rate it's ever graduated its players at. And years ago, baseball and other sports had this rule where you didn't have to sit out, and the graduation rates dropped dramatically. And so that's why they went to it in baseball and these other sports, for people to sit out for the graduation. Mm-hmm. And so what I think is difficult to me is that if we know that information, we have that study, we have that data, then to go against that, to me, just isn't genuine. Mm-hmm. If we're in college and we're in this business for education, I think that's something that we should be sharing and we should be telling. We haven't really released that data. That's data that kind of people know on campuses, but we don't really talk about it. I think we should talk about that. This is one of the reasons why they went to it in baseball, and this is where we are. So I think that's the hard part with it. I think it's hard. I think it's complicated. And I think to speak on how you could fix it without having all the information in front of you, I think is how we've gotten to where we are. Like sometimes our media jumps on, well, you should be able to do this or they should be able to do that. And you don't have all the information yet. Like, I'd love to have all the information in front of me and say, all right, I think this is what we should do. I think this is a pathway to satisfy everyone. But I don't have that in front of me, and I don't know who does. So you got to trust the decision makers that are ahead of us. And, I think the hard part about leadership, Zach, is that you got to make tough decisions sometimes in leadership that the people you're leading may not understand or may not want, because you're trying to do it for the betterment of people. Like I'm sure when they put the first stoplight in, people were furious for the first stoplight. Mm-hmm. And they made people wear seatbelts. They're furious about wearing seatbelts. But we did it because it was for the safety of people. And I think sometimes in leadership, we have to do that for the safety of our own people. And, I don't know in this, if we're doing that, if we know what's in front of us and we know what the graduation rates may look like. Mm-hmm. I just think it's interesting that we haven't really shared that to the public and to the media, when we know that's why we kind of went to where everyone sits out.
Without a doubt. And a couple of things before I let you go, Coach. One of them is, as I mentioned earlier, you were named to the ESPN Top 40 Under 40 group, put in number 14 there. I mean, you're obviously an incredible coach. You're still very young. What's next for you, man? What do you want to accomplish over the next however many years you're going to be coaching?
Man, I got so much to learn. I'm really enjoying this process of learning. I was fortunate to be a head coach at 29, and I learned a ton that first year, and I was like, man, this is my biggest year of learning. And I feel like every year after that, it's just been so much learning. I think the higher you climb, the more you realize the things you don't know, and having a passion to try to improve on those things and try to learn those things. I've really just enjoyed that process. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. Like kind of with the transfer question, I don't have all the work and all the paperwork in front of me. And I think I want to learn as much as I can, have as much knowledge in front of me so I can make the best decision for our team and for our program. I'm lucky I get a chance to coach at one of the best schools in the world at GW, and a place where, we can win a national championship here. We can be one of the best teams in the A-10. All those things are right before us. We can do those things. But it's just about us putting together a plan, being able to stick to that plan, marketing ourselves the right way, and really branding ourselves to be able to make sure the world knows what a great university we have, and we're in the best city in the world. As we would say in our office, the most powerful city in the world, where decisions are made every single day that influence and affect everyone. So, if you're going to change the world, you got to do it from DC, right? So why can't it be George Washington basketball that's going to do that? And so that's what we're working on every single day. It's an ambitious task, dude. Like it's fun, man. Like, coming in every single day and knowing that you have a great task ahead of you. I'm fortunate to have great people around me, with our staff, with our athletic director, with our president, with our CFO. Like we just have the CEO, CFO. We just some of the greatest people around us that are just amazing people that are taking on this task with me every single day. I think the future can be whatever we choose for it to be. But I think what's really neat about it is, we're going to choose to keep moving our feet forward every single day to create a new basketball world here at GW that we haven't seen before. We're just passionate about doing that. And you probably don't know this, but I'm big on limitless. Mm-hmm. So I think when you put yourself when you give yourself like a crazy, give yourself a goal, like you're limiting how good you can be. So, we're limitless here at GW. We can do anything, we can literally do anything from here. And so I'm never going to put a limit on us, because I truly believe in my heart that if we put the right plan together, we get the right people working together, pushing the right direction, we can change the way college basketball looks. And we're excited about doing that every day.
That's awesome. One thing I was wrapping up with every coach talking about is legacy. By the time you are done coaching, you step away from that. What's the one thing you want to remember for that you want your legacy to be?
I just want my players to love me and to know that I always had their back. That's what I want. It's funny. The other day, I had a player call me, and he had transferred out, and I loved him. Like I loved him. He came in. He kind of asked me, he said, "Coach, what do you think? Do you think I should transfer or not?" It was a couple of years ago, and I was like, "No, I think right now is actually not the best time for you to transfer. I think you should wait another year and see where you are. I think if you go now, you're going to be at this. I think if you wait, you could be here." He went, which is his decision. Mm-hmm. And we stayed connected. And then he ended up leaving the school where he was at. And then he called me the other day and was like, "Coach, man, I just want to thank you for loving me." And he was like, and to me, that's all you can ask for from your guys. Again, they're not going to understand everything we're doing with them every single day or doing for them every single day. But when they can reflect and say, "Man, that guy really loved me. He really cared about me," man, that means a lot. And he said that hit me square in the heart, because you don't get a chance to hear that every day. And I just want those guys to know that I love them. And when it's all said and done, I hope they show up for my funeral, and I hope they say, "Man, this guy loved me, and he was always honest with me and truthful to me." And I hope they know that love was shared.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time to come on today, Coach, and look forward to seeing what God got next for you.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. You're always welcome on, Coach. God bless.
God bless you.